Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery, aka Dr. Ed, and welcome to Sensational Sunday, Sunday morning. Now, if you're wondering why in the world am I sitting here, I'm in my home studio because we are in the process of moving to our other studios where we have Sunday morning, and when we normally do Sensational Sundays, we normally do Sunday morning. Now, when we do Sunday morning, people say, well, what is Sunday morning? That's what you normally see at this particular time. That's what people would call going to church, our church service, however you want to call it. We actually call it our community. This is when our community comes together. I'm trying to change the word from trying to make it stuffy old church, just because people are playing around with words so much nowadays. So what's happening is we're making a move. We're changing over. We're not going anywhere farther. We're in Katy, Texas, which is in Houston, Texas, outskirts of Houston. And we're actually just moving a few doors down. But it's going to work. I think strategically it functions a little bit different. So we've reached the end of our lease, so we're at another place and at another space. So that's going to be good. But in the meantime, we decided to shut down our services. And one of the reasons was we're moving and we want people breathing dust and things of that sort. But another reason, it is hot in Texas. Look, it's hot. This day is Sunday. It's hot. And I said, well, let's give people a break. And so we can at least, breathe a little bit and stay cool for a little while. Kids are going back to school, getting ready for school or everything like that. So we just took a break. And you don't take a break from church. Well, you have to understand, it's our community. The building is not a church. The church are the people. When the people come together in a building, that becomes a place where they have church service or worship, what they call worship service. But when they leave the building, it's like Elvis left the building. When the church leaves the building, that building is no longer the church. That's just the church's home. It's like your home. Your home, Luther said, a house is not a home when nobody's there to climb the stair. So, anyway, that's one thing. Secondly, welcome everybody. Welcome to Sunday morning. Here's how we start on Sunday mornings. Take your hands, drop them down your side real quick. Just let them hang loose down your side. And imagine your palms as having little small pipes inside of them that's coming out of your body and out of your soul and your spirit and your mind, and release the toxic things that are there. Just let everything go. Things that have hurt your heart, things that have bruised you, just release it. Right down in the earth. Yep, if I'm sitting at home, I don't want it in my house. Well, you release it down because it's going to go straight on down into the ground, straight on down into the earth. It's going to go, that's exactly what's going to happen to it. So release it. Now you take your hands and now you close those pipes and you open your hands. You flip the hands up. This is the receptacle. This is the reception mode. This is exposing your hands and who you are into the heavens, into the universe, into everything that is around you, left and right, where God is, up above you, beneath you, on the left and on the right. The whole air is instinct with the presence of God. And so you lift your hand, you put your hands right there on your knees if you want to, and just let them go like this. And then you breathe. And you breathe 1, 2, 3, 4. And release it 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And release it 1, 2, 3, 4. And now make this last one a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then release it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Push all that extra breath out of there. Now just take a normal breath and just breathe. There you go. You've created a space for you to commune with God, for God to commune with you. It's about communing with God, communication with God and with people, and community. In other words, unity in communication and communion with your community. So we're all together. Come on in, get in. I know y'all are clicking in. So welcome, good morning. Make sure you hit that like button, hit it now so we can increase our bandwidth and our algorithms. Also share this with some of the people who don't know we're on right now. Say, where are they? Well, I didn't see them in the building. Did they shut down? No, we didn't shut down. No, but we're creating our new studios. We'll have a different look by the time you see us again. We're looking forward to going back in September. I hope we make it. I'm praying that we will. And but also in the meantime, just before I go into it, remember, even though we are not in a building, we are still creating a space. Giving is worship. Giving is not just trying to make sure that the lights are on, that you got a nice place to stay or whatever. Giving is worship. Worship is acknowledging the faith and the teaching that we have. And it is acknowledging this is what I am and who I am to God and what God is to me. That's what it is. So we give because we're fed, because we learn, because we grow. So make sure you remember that, 713-742-2035. I'll talk about that later. But I want to get into these three things. And I'm calling this reimagination. Reimagination. Here's why. We're looking at our world now, and when you're looking at what's going on in the government, when you're looking at what's happening in the White House, in the Congress, and you hear people talking about words like DEI, you've heard it, right? DEI. What was the other one? Critical race theory, CRT, critical race theory. They got a hold of that. And they said all this critical race theory and teaching all this, it was nothing of what they were talking about. It was just another word people were using for black. DEI is nothing. Matter of fact, black people didn't even create this. It was letters DEI. That was diversity. Was it diversity? I can't even remember what it is because I kind of pushed it out of my mind. I know it's inclusion, but kind of pushed it out of my mind because they've tried to turn it and make the definition of it black. They took the word woke. Black people have always had stay woke, my friend, to stay woke. In other words, keep your eyes open. Watch where you're going. Keep your eye, let them peripheral vision stay to the side so you can see who's around you at all times. Don't go out with certain people and not keep your eyes open. Don't believe and trust everybody. Your grandmother, we all were taught this. We're in a generation now where it's not taught like that. So, so now people took the word woke, and I heard somebody come up with the word woke too. And they're trying to take woke again, but now they're making the second generation of woke, the stupidest thing in the world. Listen, woke means exactly what woke is. Stay woke. Open your eyes and you stay aware. And one thing we have to learn now is do not allow the system to change your definitions about how you think and about the world around you. You change your own definitions when you're ready to make the change. Be careful of the people that are around you that are trying to change definitions of words to suit themselves. So that woke means black, so they don't have to say black. They can just say, we don't want to deal with this woke generation, because this woke generation, they're talking to white people that are working with black people working with white people, black people working with black people. They're talking about the progressive left. They're talking about all these different things. Listen, don't let that get to you. Learn to understand the definition of words, because this is how we communicate. And the way you do it is, once you realize that, that's what they do to create their world. They have learned this, and they got it from Bible principles, scriptural teachings, and they took it and they went to the other side of the force. What they did, they have taken the scriptures where we've heard touching and agreeing. When two of you come together, touching and agreeing, God will do this. Where two or three are gathered, Jesus, or the Christ consciousness, the mind of Christ, is in the midst of all of this. They've taken that principle and flipped it on its negative backside. And then now trying to tell you that it is actually the front side and the positive side, and you are the negative side, and you need to change to what we just told you. Well, here's how you deal with a liar. You call the principle a lie. It's a lie. It is nothing but what it says it is. You're dealing with systemic racism in America. That's what you're dealing with. And it is here, and you can call it whatever you want to, a philosophy. If you're in the philosophical arena, you can call it a philosophy. You can call it an ideology. If you're in the church world, you may call it even a type of theology. But if you deep down in that church that we believe where we come from across them waters and our ancestors, we would call it a spirit, that racism is a spirit. Always remember this. Always remember this. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers. This is Ephesians chapter 6. Principalities, master spirits in high places. In other words, the powerful people, those who have taken power and starting to use it now and squeeze it. They've always used it, and they're squeezing the toothpaste out of the tube because they intend to take the toothpaste and throw it back and throw you back the tube. But we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Remember this. If every single person that was white in this world right now disappeared and was gone, and there was no one left but black people, I got some news for you. White supremacy would still be here. And there would be people who are of a colored skin would still practice it because it is a spirit. You have to deal with a spirit by the spirit. You got to understand what it is. It is a sickness. It is a disease. And it's a very difficult thing to kill. This is where we start changing. You start reimagining things. Reimagining. I'll give you three things. You reimagine yourself, reimagine God, and then there's a third one. Just stay tuned with me. Don't go anywhere. There's a third one, and it's powerful. I begin, first of all, with reimagining yourself. Reimagine, which means to re-image. You know what I'm talking about. How many of you have ever, well, let me put it, how can I explain? Okay, let me put it this way. When we go to school, when you go to school, you're going to learn about the past. You're not learning anything about the future, basically, because the future is not there yet. You're learning about the past. When you go to college, you're learning about the past. If you take English Lit, you're learning about the past literature. When you're taking mathematics, you're learning about the Pythagorean theory. You're learning about the past. When you're dealing with science and physics, you're learning about Galileo. You're learning about the past. You're learning about stargazing, astronomy. You're learning about the past. When you look into the Bible, which is 2,000 years, 3,000 years, you're looking into the past. Even the Bible itself has to be reimagined, but we're not there. Right now, we're talking about how we see ourselves. But then when you get out of college and you got a master's degree, you've been to school, and you go get a job, when you get a job, then what do they say? They're expecting you to do things that they really didn't teach you in school. What they taught you in school is past. You now have to begin, if you're going to get ahead, you have to reimagine where you are. And for people of color, black people, in this country, we're hearing things so much that as hard as this thing is, as tough as this thing is, I do a radio show. And one of the things that I've stopped doing I do a secular radio show. That I do on a radio show is I stop trying to make folk go vote. Get up and go vote. You need to go vote. I'm so tired of talking about voting. And come to find out, no matter how much you tell people to get up and go vote, what are we finding out? We're finding out that the percentage of people that don't vote, 10, 12, 14% of black registered voters is the only number that voted. You're looking at 80-some% of black people who are not voting. Here's my question. Well, there you go, blame it. I'm not blaming anything. I'm gonna tell you what I'm blaming. I'm gonna blame the spirit of the whole thing, because my question is, why are we not voting? Not that we don't, or not that black people don't. Why don't you vote? And so we find out something about voting. And what's the answer always be? Well, my vote don't count. So when you say my vote don't count, that means the vote is yours. And you believe that your vote don't count, which means you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in what you possess. Or what you believe that you possess is not powerful enough. What if David, who we read in the Bible about killing a giant called Goliath, didn't believe he could do a slingshot? People think they hear the story about David and Goliath, and they believe the story that he was just a little boy who happened to have a slingshot, and he, turned the slingshot around and threw it to the giant, and God directed the stone and hit Goliath in the forehead, and Goliath fell down. That God did all that work. Well, God didn't do all that work. What God did in David was gave him the confidence. David drew his confidence from God. In other words, what happened is David reimagined himself. David was somebody who practiced. If you read the story of David from a child, you'll notice that he had killed a bear with his slingshot. He knew how to do a slingshot from the time he was a child. He became something that was a part of the army artillery of that 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago. David was considered to be a slinger, which means he slung it. He was an expert slinger. He didn't need God to knock down Goliath. He knew how to knock down Goliath because he knew it within inside himself. He reimagined himself from killing a bear and a lion to protect his sheep, to kill a giant to protect his people. It's called reimagination. It's seeing yourself different. Why do I vote? I vote because it's my possession. Yeah, but what if they don't count it? That's not my point. Then you fight to get your vote counted. That's what the politicians are supposed to be doing. Instead of taking the money, they're supposed to be fighting to make sure that the vote is counted. But I'm not going to waste my time. What time? The wasting of time is the greatest sin in the world. As a matter of fact, that's what sin is. Sin is not about drinking and smoking and chasing everybody and doing all that thing. Sin is wasting your life and the life force that you have. Number one, you have to reimagine yourself. And number two, you have to reimagine. Now, this is a tough one. Reimagine God. Let's kind of split that word up. Which means to do again. Image God. See God differently. The image of God that many of us have is the image that was brought over from Europe into America in the 1600s. That is where, as people of color, that was brought over on that boat out of Africa coming in the transatlantic slave trade. In other words, the human trafficking scenario. It is here in America that we were introduced to their God. It is how they reimagined their God. See, we think God comes from up there in Europe down to Africa and over. No, God, see, we don't see God as God. We see it in the paper or on the book, but we see God as creator, as a whole different world. Okay, and I'm gonna finish that up just a second, and I'm gonna give you that third one, which is powerful. But also, let me remind you, we are not in the building, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to take care of our church things and the things that we do on Sunday mornings, and how we give. Our giving is worship. Let me say that again. Giving is worship. Giving is not trying to beg people to give something to make sure that you keep the building going and keep the church going. We give because we worship. Worship means to acknowledge our faith. Worship is not just raising the hands up to the sky. That's praise. But worship is acknowledging this is our faith and we're learning from this faith. ALC is over. This is our 45th year. We would call it our 45th anniversary that we have been in existence. And we know people. We get testimonies. People tell us all the time. As a matter of fact, share it. If you know I'm telling you the truth. If you've grown just being under our ministry for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, wherever you are, put it down in the comment. Let me know. I've grown. I've learned so much. If you've gotten, let your comments be. Let the people hear it right now. Just type it in your comments and in your chat. And do it now. Because people need to see that this is something that happens. This is something that we do. And that people are growing by, because you can't combat this stuff in life if you don't have a good spiritual foundation. They're saying, listen, they have black radio, whole lot of people saying, black church, they don't do anything and they've never done it, those people and so and so and so and so. I don't know where they come from, but I know one thing. I know when you learn that you can change the flow of how God is perceived in this planet. But you got to learn how to do that. Everybody doesn't teach it. One thing at ALC, and I'm calling this ALC. When we get back, it'll be called ALC today. This is how we perceive things. So take a moment, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That is our primary ministry location, myalc.org. And you click that, and then you'll see the donate or the contribution button. It'll say one of those. Click that. And it'll take you to the giving site. It is very simple. It is very easy. It doesn't take very long. If you've never been on there before, just sign up. It won't take you long to do it. You can always come back to this particular teaching because now it's on YouTube and you can go back and scroll back and see what we're going to talk about. If you don't want to do it that way, you may, if you have the app, use the app. If you're watching from the app, you can always download the app from the App Store. ALC or Abundant Life Cathedral or Abundant Life Center. Download the app. Type in Ed Montgomery. You might be able to download that app from there. But if you're on that, go to your app and you can give through your app. Or you can give through your phone. Now, the word 713-742-2035. Or you can do that right now. We actually can see it popping up right now. If you were to give right now, you might give $10. You might give, what's this? We're going into that 9th month. This is the 8th month. Give $8. It might be $18. It might be $28. Whatever number you give, put the number 8 in there. That tells, you say, well, does God do something better with the number 8? No, you will do better with the number 8 because the number 8 is to remind you that we're in new beginnings. That we're getting ready to go into number 9. That's September, but this is what you do. 713-742-2035. Or you can, our P.O. box has been there since the beginning of our ministry. And you can send it Abundant Life Center. If you got an envelope, we'll mail an envelope back to you. If you ever sent one in, or you can, Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas 77215. I believe that's it. If it's not, they'll correct it. I haven't said that address in a long time, but they'll correct it. on the screen, and you can slip a check in there and send it on, and we'll get it, and we'll get to that mailbox. We'll open it, and we'll record all your information and put it on your records and things of that sort. It's 501c3 organization, and you better take advantage of this tax deductions and everything while you can, because we don't know when this government. Anyway, thank you so much for your contributions, and always know whatever you give, that aspect of your giving, it warms us, but more than anything, it warms your heart. So thank you for what you do. Okay, let me get back to this. Number one, I told you before the break, I told you that you got to reimagine yourself. It's about self-imagining. It is about self-image, and you have to be able to look at yourself from the past and realize you've learned the past when you go to school and get out of school and things of that sort. But now you've got to begin to reimagine things, and you got to open yourself up so you can begin to at least see how you deal with the future. It's imagining the future is a spiritual thing, because the future is not tangible in right where you are. It's something you have to begin to see, and always understand that the future is always going to be even greater than how you imagine it. But you got to be, so you don't try to reimagine the future without learning to reimagine yourself. I'm talking about that in a minute. Secondly, you learn how to reimagine God. When the Puritans and Pilgrims got over, notice when they came over in the 1600s. The Gutenberg press, which was the first time they began to teach to use portable type, and began to print things faster, mass printing. This is like we're doing iPhones and iPads and things like that, computers. That was that mass technology. Printing press was their mass technology. In other words, nobody really had a Bible, but the aristocrats and the monks and people like that. They had the Bible, and those things were done by hand. What they put on the printing press is when they finally got to what you call the King James Version, which came out in 1611. Notice they call it the King James Version. I don't use it. I'll use another version of it because they're more updated versions. King James Version has been revised over 40,000 times since the time that it was introduced. And so, in other words, and there's some things I like about it. I like the 23rd Psalm, the beauty of the prose that's in it, because it has that old English. But then you have people go to church and everything, and then says, "For thus saith the Lord thy God, thou shalt not so and so and so." And it's always funny when they try to prophesy to people, because they're prophesying to people in old English terms, and God doesn't talk like that. God talks a totally different way. So you have to begin to reimagine God. How does God talk? First of all, God does not talk in an English unless you're from England. God does not talk in an old English language. So how does God talk? How would you reimagine that? God may talk. Sometimes it may sound, if you're in church, you may sound like your pastor. But always understand, you may hear God talk. You may hear God on a commercial. You may hear God talk on a TV. You may hear God talk in the internet. You may hear God talk anywhere. But what happens is, when you hear that, then you say, that's interesting. And you'll repeat what that was said to yourself. Always understand, God will always sound like you, which is but a bit more logical and more reasonable. The voice of God is always a much more logical and reasonable voice of yours. In other words, when you get mad, I'll cuss them out and give them a piece of my mind. Well, after you calm down and be still, then you can hear the voice of God. That's reimagining God. How do we see God? Well, first of all, I'm using the term God because that's what's in your Bible. Me personally, I talk more about the Creator. The Creator. Notice I didn't say the Creator himself, because God is beyond male. God is beyond female. That was introduced into the God, and that came across from Europe. That's when God was introduced as strictly male. Patriarch. God is beyond male. God is beyond female. But you know that. You know that. Anybody that's grown up in ALC understands that. God is not a man that he should lie. It's right there in the scripture. Jesus says, was it John chapter 4? Was it John chapter 4? Yeah, I think it was John chapter 4. That God is a spirit. God is not a human man. God does not think like a man. Yeah, but the scriptures are writing as a man because man wrote it. See, what are we doing now? We're reimagining God. We're beginning to see God as the creator of all things. God is so huge. God is much bigger. So you've got to begin to allow yourself to throw away some of the ancient things that no longer make sense to you. You know they don't make sense. You know God is not a man with a body, with male genitals. You know God is not a man. God is not a woman. God is beyond all of that. But yet these characteristics are all blended within God, so that when he was able to make us in his image and likeness. That's why everybody was not made male. Well, he was made male in Genesis chapter 2. Well, that's not what it said in Genesis chapter 1. That ought to show you something right there, why you have to reimagine God. Because the God in Genesis chapter 1, the God in Genesis chapter 2 made and created the earth and the human beings two different ways at two different times. Okay. Which one is right? Chapter 1 or chapter 2? And you know they're both different. You know it. I know it. We've always known it. We know little things. We know that when Adam and Eve had children, they had Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, the son. So there's only one left named Cain. And it says, and Cain went and married a woman in the land of Nod. Where'd the woman come from? The Bible doesn't say. But it says Adam and Eve were the first two in the Garden of Eden. So you know it must be talking about something else. Reimagine God. You have to find teachers that will help you to reimagine. Don't be afraid to open your minds. If we don't do this now, this whole entire system that we are living in right here in the United States of America will shut us down, shut our minds, our wisdom, our creativity, and everything down. And you'll be sitting up there talking like some whole bunch of other folk. Well, I don't vote because my vote don't count. I don't count. They're going to do what they want to anyway. It don't help me. And the point is this. Here's the third thing. Reimagine. First of all, number one, reimagine yourself, your image. Number two, reimagine God, the image of God. And number three, reimagine the God within you, the connection between you and the Creator. What do you mean? What do you mean reimagine God? I'm just a sinner. I'm a poor sinner. You don't understand. I'm just trying to get right so I can just make it in there. You don't just make it in somewhere. Do you actually think that God sent you through the womb of a woman into this planet with no God in you, with no divinity in you as a baby? That the Creator of all things sent you into this planet without the Creator within you? Do you really believe that? You know you don't. Your parents always told you when you go to school, remember, God with you right by your side. That's how they told you. Because the Creator of everything is there within you. There is divinity within you. And the reason the divinity is within you, what the Creator does it tries to connect. The goal of Jesus was to reconnect your divinity with your divine parent. To teach you that you didn't come from nothing, but that divinity that is within Christ, that Christ consciousness is also within you. Now begin to develop it. Reimagine yourself connected to God's divinity and that you are one with it. So when you lay your hands and pray for your kids, you're not praying for your kids and hoping that God will do something. You're praying for your kids as the creator of this entire universe is flowing through you as you're praying for your child. There's nothing you can't do. There's nothing that will be impossible unto you. And for that, you may have to look at the religion that they brought over in the 1600s, and they tell you now, this is the true religion. This is how God is a man. This is God. And you must listen. Maybe it's time to dump some of their religious thinking. It's old. It's antiquated. And it was imagined by them. And now they want to put their imagination on you. Hello, my friends. I'm Ed Montgomery. You know me, Pastor Ed, Dr. Ed. Thank you so much for doing what you do and contributing from your heart. People think giving comes from the pocket. Never has. It comes directly from the heart. In the world that we're living in right now, so many changes, so many things happening that will make us lose our faith. Listen, I've got to teach more than I've ever taught. Stay online more than I've ever been online. Because it's not just going to be enough to encourage. We're reteaching the faith. That's right, reteaching the faith. Because we have to begin to strengthen the teaching so that people who've never heard this gospel like this before can hear it and continue to move on. So when you give, you're pushing me and telling me and challenging me to keep going forward. Take a moment, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Myalc.org. And go ahead and click that donate button. It is safe, it is secure, and not only that, but it only takes just a couple of minutes, maybe even a few seconds for those of you that are already signed up. Or if you want to use your phone, wherever you're watching or however you're watching, you can use text to give. And that's 713-742-2035. 713-742-2035. Or you can go old school and you can write a check and send it in to Abundant Life Center or Ed Montgomery. It doesn't go into my pocket. It goes into our ministry. 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for what you already do. I am praying for you, and I'm praying the best over your gift and over the offering. And I pray that abundance will continue to flow in your life in so many different ways. It'll warm your heart. God bless you.